Hey, this is Kyle Thomas from Exhorder, and you are listening to The Dan Chan Show on Hard Rock Hell Radio.
Hey, Kyle, how are you, mate? How's things in Louisiana?
I'm doing well, Dan. Thanks for having me on the show. Everything here is pretty nice. The weather's good. We had a couple of days in a row of clear skies, blue skies, sunny blue skies, mid 60s. It was actually quite nice. We had a cold blast a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But this is kind of standard here. We go back and forth. It's more like autumn, spring most of the winter, you know.
And how's the pandemic been for you guys in LA?
At first, we had some really, really bad numbers. And my wife is a scientist. She works in the hospital lab testing for all stuff and everything. And she was working in a COVID hospital right at the onset of the pandemic. And it was insane. She said every bed in the hospital was a COVID patient. And they had so much overflow that they were setting up hospital beds in the corridors.
Wow.
So it was really bad at first. It seems like we've been reasonably under control. You'd never know that by the way the mayor of New Orleans and the governor of Louisiana are acting. They act like we're the least responsible of everyone, but our numbers are good. So
that's good.
It is what it is.
So let's get down to business. So Exhorder, from your 1992 album, The Law, until your 2019 album, More Than Southern Skies, it's a 27-year hiatus. What happened in between and what got you to put the Exhorder hat back on?
Man, I was just sitting on the couch doing nothing the whole time. I can't really speak for everybody else, but, you know, for me, I was extremely busy. I went on immediately after Exhorder and put Floodgates together.
Yeah.
We did an album on Roadrunner. Had some really nice tours that we did, especially the one doing direct support for Sepultura on the Roots tours.
Yeah.
We came out the gates in our first album doing, arena tours. It was really, really nice. I struggled to make that last. I ended up settling down, having a family, raising kids. So touring kind of slowed down for me tremendously right there. It really kind of came to a standstill. I recorded a couple of albums while my children were small. An album by a band called Jones's Lounge, and then an album by a band called Pits vs. Preps. Mm-hmm. And, it was, heavy metal, stoner doom kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I did the best that I could while my kids were little, but I'm a full-time dad, and that requires a lot of presence. So it wasn't until I was in Alabama Thunder Pussy that I started touring again, but my children were still small, so that was really difficult. So I took another break after that for a good 10 years. Did a little bit of touring in between, but my youngest just turned 18, so my children are grown, so I'm at liberty to go out on long tours again. It's have another lease on life with this, another chance. So we're making the best of it. We're working really hard, as hard as can be during COVID. Of course. But, leading up to it, we were really busy.
Yeah. So now you're the only founding member in the band too. Does that feel strange, or is it quite refreshing?
At this point, I've jammed with so many people over the years, so many different lineups for this and that, fill-ins and all this stuff. To me, it doesn't really matter as much who's there, as long as the material that's being played is being played within the spirit of that band in particular.
Yeah.
And, the stuff that we're writing now it's amazing, man. I play it for a lot of people that are my confidants, people that love the band, and they're going to shoot me straight. And the new stuff that we're working on, everybody's like, wow, sounds like Exhorder to me. So
yeah. How did you go about gathering new members? Was it old acquaintances, new auditions, was it?
Well, when we first put Exhorder back together so that we could, do some touring and then eventually the album, the rhythm section, Jason and Sasha were already a part of Year of the Tyrant.
Yeah.
Never did come to fruition, but they were a part of that, and I was working with Marzi on Heaviest Texas, so we just kind of took the two bands and smashed them together. And
that's cool.
And Jason has a long history with us anyway. He first started working with us back in 93. So
yeah. So last year you released the awesome single "The Man That Never Was." Was there more to come if it hadn't been for the pandemic, or was the single released to accompany the Overkill tour that you did? You managed to squeeze that tour in before lockdowns, didn't you?
There really wasn't any deep dark plan, I don't think, for that. More than anything, that song was actually intended to be on More in the Southern Skies, but between us, the label, our management, there was a vote for Ripping Flesh to be re-recorded and put on the album. So we ended up doing that. Chris Nail came in and stepped in and played on that. So that was really nice to have a third original member back in the picture for at least for one song.
Yeah.
But it was decided later on that The Man That Never Was would just be released as a single with a live track from our first concert in Brooklyn at the St. Vitus gig. So I'm kind of glad it worked out that way. It gave us another release, something new and fresh to offer the fans. But it's not like we went in and recorded that after the album was done. That's from the same sessions.
So talking of fans, do you feel like you kind of had to start again, gain a new fan base? You know, there's always the fear that older fans may not be bothered anymore with new music.
This is the weirdest situation. I think we're blessed because when bands tend to step away for a long time, a lot of times they fade into obscurity, that they just kind of get forgotten, or the interest is just a fraction of what it once was. But every time this band has ever broken up and gotten back together, it gets bigger.
Yeah.
And it's the strangest thing. And, I'll take it for what it's worth. It makes it a lot easier for us to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
But we've had a strong showing of older fans, and more importantly, I think the growth of new fans, especially the young ones. It's crazy how many kids we're seeing at festivals, and any show that's 18 and under can get in as long as they're not drinking or whatever. Metal's on the rise again, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
With the younger generations, which is a good thing. It's always been a little bit bigger in Europe, but I blame the way that the popularity for metal has dwindled in the United States. I put that solely on the shoulders of the music industry. The music industry has been trying for decades to squash heavy metal and just push the pop music that are written by two white dudes that are my age in Sweden.
Oh, country music. I mean, country music's huge, isn't it?
Country music is very big, yes. And country and pop. And look, I don't have any problem with those things being popular, but there's room for us, too.
Of course.
And there's a demand. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. Yeah. Why would you want to scope that out? I don't understand it.
Of course. And obviously, metal's never going to die, is it, Carl?
Oh, I mean, the cockroach long after us.
That's right. So what can we expect from Exhorder this year, when things get back to some form of normality? Are you planning a new album, tours?
Yes, we do have a portion of the festivals that we were scheduled to play on last year that are rescheduled for this year. One of them has rescheduled again for 2022, but that's a spring festival, so I'm hoping that the summer festivals actually have some success with being able to go on as planned. If not, if they want to rebook us for next year, we'll do that. We've got some things that we're working on, hopefully in Europe for the fall. I can't really say too much about that right now because it's all just talk right now. Yeah. But that's the hope. We're hoping to get back out on the road in the fall. We are in pre-production for a new album at the moment. I'm writing at home. Marzi's writing at home. Jason and Sasha are writing at home. They've worked together as well. So everybody's kind of piecing everything together. We share the files, we make recommendations to each other and tweak it, and we're just throwing it to the wall and seeing what sticks. But so far, we've got some really, really good stuff coming.
Great. That's good. Exciting. Talking about writing, how much of the southern influences end up in your writing? Does being from the south give a different vibe and a different outset?
I think so. The biggest ingredient for Exhorder and for like the stuff that I write on my own outside of Exhorder, the biggest influence that creeps in, I think, is the traditional New Orleans music, that traditional New Orleans funk.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that, we're putting slap bass parts all over the songs. And, I love 70s funk, and it's one of my favorite styles of music. Yeah. But, I really think that just the slow back, the grooves and the beats and everything that we grew up listening to, bona fide certified hits here in Louisiana, but may not necessarily be everywhere else in the world. It creep in. You hear these songs when you're a kid all your life, and it's going to creep in as an influence.
Absolutely.
Even with heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that gave us that individuality. We were classified as a thrash band, but I don't think we're a pure thrash band at all. We've got way too much punk influence in us to just be a thrash band.
Yeah.
And that New Orleans flavor that creeps in when we slow it down and break into those grooves.
Yeah.
You can imitate it, but when it comes pure from the soul, from the main source versus, bands that may have grown up listening to us that have emulated it. And I'm not saying that they're bad at it. It's just if you're influenced by those grooves through us, well, it's kind of third party. It's not straight from the source. I highly recommend everybody go out and check out the Meters and Dr. John and Fats Domino.
Yeah.
All this good stuff from New Orleans that we basically inherently learned in the womb.
Yeah, of course. So going back in a bit of history now. So did you get any flack for the 1990 Slaughter in the Vatican album? I mean, the album cover alone is just brilliant. I'm sure it must have wound some people up.
Back in the day, it earned a warning label, which only sold more records because kids go in and see a tag on a record that says,
They want it.
Parental advisory, explicit lyrics. It's a sale, So and the funny thing is back then there was a big chain of stores here called Kmart, and Kmart would not carry the album. It was the funniest thing because there was a band called Christian Death back at the same time, and they had an album cover, if I remember correct, with an image of Christ on the front with a crown of thorns and hypodermic needles all up and down his arms.
I think I've seen
and
it.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I thought, so you can mock Christ at Kmart, but you can't mock the Pope.
You have an incredible metal voice, and you actually offer vocal lessons online. That must be quite rewarding to see the new generation coming through. What can we expect from a Carl Thomas vocal lesson?
I did actually learn as curriculum in high school. I was in the chorus. I took 2 years of chorus in high school. I really took it just to kind of get a little better at singing. And it turned out that I excelled in the choral singing world. I got voted outstanding singer my senior year by my classmates, which was an honor, as you can imagine. From there, I went on to sing at the university here in New Orleans with the New Orleans Symphony. And we did Beethoven's Ninth for 2 sold-out shows. I mean, I'm standing there in a tuxedo on risers behind a 60-piece orchestra. It was incredible. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. So what I do is all of the technique, all of the warm-ups, all of the things that taught me how to be the best singer that I could be is what I teach. So now I can eventually at some point help a singer who's doing extreme metal or just heavy metal or whatever. I can help them get better at what they do. But I've got clients that sing blues and jazz and stuff.
So it literally is across the board vocal. It's not just metal.
Correct. It's whatever kind of singer you need to be. I can at least help you get better at that if you work hard enough.
That's cool. I have to. I've just plugged you there, mate, for my listeners.
And actually, I do have a promo going on right now where if you use the code TRIAL, TRIAL, at my exhorderkyle.com website for the 30-minute vocal lesson trial, if you put in that when you purchase it, you get $5 off.
Fantastic.
So it goes from $25 to $20.
Awesome.
And no obligation necessary. You get one lesson. You get to keep the MP3 exercise. You get to keep the notes on technique and stuff. So it's you can't go wrong with it.
Very cool. Very cool. And at the moment, these days, some bands are getting into releasing beers and spirits, but you've got a different way. You've got Exhorder beard oil. What flavors have you got? I can just picture. I can just picture you in your kitchen, like just taking different notes from different scents and blending it. How's it? How did you get into that?
I'll be perfect.
Well, I know you've got a big beard. It needs looking after, but
I didn't know anything about beard oil until my friend Janet with Alchemy Beard Care. She's the owner. She approached me about it, and because she's a metal fan, and she wanted to start working with bands and having the bands license their name to her to help her sell her beard oil. And so we don't have anything to do with the production of it. She just said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "I don't know anything about beard oil, man. I wash my beard with shampoo and then I condition it." And then she's like, "Well, let me send you a bottle and you let me know what you think." And I really liked it. So I said, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do this." It smells really nice. She makes an assortment she makes oils with an assortment of, I guess, plants and herbs and stuff. I don't know what other way to
you just put your name to it.
That because
that's good.
This is not my forte. This is not my wheelhouse. But because I liked the product, I was all for it.
So now tell me about a bit of history here. Tell me this story of a 16-year-old you casually jumping on the Metallica tour bus on the Master of Puppets tour.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. I actually went to that concert with Jimmy Bauer. We were best friends and played in a band together, and we got in line early and got in the front row and just had a great time. And so like while Ozzy's playing, half of the Metallica band's walking around the arena just hanging out and people talking to them, and it was really cool. We were like, wow, this, you don't ever see this.
Yeah.
They weren't the kind to hide out in the green room at the time, because they were still up and coming, even though it was puppets. It was your direct support for Ozzy. You're doing well, right?
Of course,
But they were still kind of street level. They like Ozzy pulls up to the concert in the limousine, and they pull up in cabs. There was no big presentation. And that's what I always admired about them in the early days, was they were just street level. So let's fast forward to the concert's over. Jimmy and I are leaving the parking lot, waiting in traffic to get out of the concert. Metallica's tour bus is right in front of us. So I see Lars Ulrich and Kirk Hammett getting on and off the bus. And I told Jimmy, I said, I'm going in. And he's like, what? So I got out and I walked straight onto their tour bus, and I stepped up into the front lounge, and immediately I realized, oh, I just walked onto these people's house without knocking. My mother and father would kill me for doing this. So I'm standing, and they were like dirty from the show, eating nachos and cheese. And they all just kind of looked at me frozen for a minute. It was like a cartoon. And the tour manager looked at me and goes, you got to get out of here, man. And I just looked. I was like, I'm sorry. I just stepped on your butt without knocking. I apologize. I just want to get some autographs, and then I'll be out of here. I'm so sorry. And I looked down, and Cliff Burton was sitting right next to me. And he looked up at me, and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, yeah, give it to me.
That's cool. What a story.
And I was so happy, man. And, I have to throw James Hetfield under the bus. He kind of went, all right.
So cool.
I'm like, man, I'm bugging these dudes, and I felt bad, but they signed everything up for me. And as soon as I got, I'm pulling like business cards out of my wallet and stuff, whatever I could find for them to sign, receipts. So they signed everything up for me, and as soon as they're done, I started going, y'all are my favorite band in the world, and when y'all wrote this part, I was thinking about, like, what were you thinking? And again, the tour manager's just like, out, you gotta go, bro.
That's a great story.
So, the funny thing is I know James Hetfield is a huge Trouble fan, and if I ever met him for any reason in person, and that I'm sure that me being in Trouble would probably break the ice a little bit on that. I would love to tell the story and just find out whether or not they remember that even. I mean, I'm sure they've had so many experiences over the years. It could be forgotten at this point. But
so funny. So funny.
That's my Metallica story.
That's great. You're the first American I've spoken to since Biden won the election, and we just had the inauguration. Do you think America can heal and come together now after a polarizing split? I've got to ask the question.
I sure hope so. It saddens me how divided everything is. I'm not a politics guy. The way I see, I've got an opinion about politicians.
Yeah.
There are two types of politicians. You've got honest politicians and successful politicians.
Yeah.
I just don't trust the majority of them. That's not to say that there are no good people that are politicians and that they don't have agendas. I'm sure there are some, but to me, the like you said, the polarization of it, just how divided this country is. And
is it noticeable? I mean, I've not been to the States for many years, but especially during the Trump administration, is it a noticeable sort of like tension in the air?
Yeah. I mean, they're still in my neighborhood. I'm driving home today, and I'm noticing the inauguration was yesterday. So we've got the new president in office in his house. There's no question he's going to be the guy, and the 45th president is no longer in the White House anymore. But in my neighborhood, it's almost like these people have shrines built to the former president, who's not even he's not even there anymore. But they won't take their campaign signs down. They've got signs with his likeness up everywhere. Wow. And I get it if you feel strongly about something, but this isn't Kiss.
Yeah.
Come on. It's to me it's ridiculous. And again, I'm not pro Trump, I'm not pro Biden. I'm more of a I would love to see more people embrace third party, an alternative for real change, because that's just me, and that's about as far into my stance on politics that I'll go. Is I just wish that people would be more interested in another alternative, and I think that's about the only way we're going to see real change here in the U.S.
So, new album this year, maybe, hopefully on the cards later this year.
Yeah. If it's not released this year, it would probably be released in 2022. But we have, Marzi's got probably close to 10 songs written on his own. Jason and Sasha put together about a half a dozen. I've put together, mostly what I do for Exhorder songs is I write parts and then I submit them, and then they might get used here and there. That's how it always was done in the past. There are some parts of mine that made it onto the old albums, but most of what I write when I'm writing ends up being more like the Floodgate stuff. So on occasion when there's something that I've written, they'll use it. So that I'm not that worried about it. I just want great songs handed to me so I can do what I do. And my biggest part outside of writing vocals and lyrics is the arrangement, helping to piece the song into the format that it needs to be in, and just the overall production side of it, especially vocally. I like having input on what part here, the intro should be this and that. So Exhorder's always been a team effort.
That's right,
It's never been one person writing all the music, one person writing all the vocals. It's not like that at all. It's always been a collaborative effort, and I think that's what makes us so good at what we do. Is you get all those different flavors melding into one dish, and then it's something special.
Yeah, look forward to that. Well, Kyle, thanks for joining me on the show. We're looking forward to new Exhorder and shows as soon as possible.
Awesome. I do appreciate it. If anybody wants to see what we're up to or take a look at our merch options, just go to exhorder.com. That's us.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks a bunch, Dan. I appreciate you taking the time out today.